Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're literally tearing down the drywall to look at the chaotic, hidden, and, let's be honest, incredibly stressful reality of water damage. But we aren't just looking at the destruction here, we're diving into the rigorous, fascinating science of mitigating it. We're going to explore all of this through the lens of a highly specific coastal environment, Chelsea, Massachusetts. It's a city that is constantly battling the elements, which makes it the absolute perfect case study for understanding how water behaves, how it destroys, and exactly what it takes to stop it. Right in its tracks.
Okay, let's dive into this and map out exactly how experts turn a chaotic disaster into a manageable science. We're going to cover the anatomy of a water disaster, the 3 categories of water, the 48-hour mold window, the science of structural drying, and finally, prevention and ultimate recovery.
So, Part 1, Anatomy of a Water Disaster.
A race against time.
Now, you might be wondering just how fast things can go wrong. Well, in dense urban environments, water emergencies are a question of when, not if. To truly understand this disaster, you have to look at the sheer speed of water. Take a simple rubber washing machine hose, right? When that deteriorates and bursts, a failed supply line can unleash 5 to 10 gallons of water every single minute. To put that into perspective, that's enough to fill an entire bathtub before you've even figured out where the mop is. It's just a staggering amount of water flooding your laundry room, seeping into adjacent spaces, and literally crashing through to lower floors in mere minutes.
Now anchor that insane speed into our environmental case study of Chelsea. This city sits on a narrow peninsula, barely above sea level. It's packed with aging triple-deckers that share plumbing systems. So what does that mean? It means one failed pipe cascades failures across multiple apartments. Add in the old stone or brick foundations that absorb groundwater like giant sponges, and the corrosive salt air from the harbor that actually eats away at copper pipes and galvanized steel, causing them to fail decades earlier than they would inland. I mean, it is literally the perfect storm for a water disaster.
And when that storm hits, the biological clock starts ticking loudly. Minute 1, the pipe bursts, or maybe the coastal storm surge hits. Within hour 1, you are in the ideal window for professional extraction. If you wait too long, between hours 24 to 48, mold spores begin to multiply, and over days 3 to 7, you're looking at the crucial window for complete structural drying. The horrifying reality here is that during those first 24 hours, the damage to a property literally doubles every single hour.
Let's move to Part 2 and see how this builds. The 3 categories of water. Knowing your enemy. The Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification, or the IICRC for short, classifies water into 3 distinct categories. And this is vital because each demands a completely different safety protocol. Category 1 is clean water from supply lines or rain. Minimal initial health risk, but it still has to be extracted fast before it degrades. Then there's Category 2, gray water. Think washing machine overflows. It contains some contamination and definitely needs antimicrobial treatment. And then you have Category 3, black water. This stuff is highly contaminated, totally filled with dangerous pathogens, and requires full personal protective equipment to even go near.
So the crucial point here is understanding just how severe Category 3 black water really is. In coastal cities with aging infrastructure, heavy rains can easily overwhelm combined sewer systems. And when that happens, it pushes raw sewage straight back into basement drains and toilets. Because sewage flows downhill, lower-level properties are incredibly vulnerable. Dealing with this isn't just about drying out a wet floor. It requires serious EPA-approved disinfection protocols to eliminate massive health hazards and disease transmission.
Which naturally brings us to Part 3, the 48-hour mold window, the invisible threat.
You know, mold spores exist naturally everywhere. They really don't need much to thrive, just moisture. Within 24 to 48 hours of water exposure, they multiply rapidly, manifesting as those visible black, green, or white patches nobody wants to see. In places like our case study of Chelsea, local microclimates actually make this way worse. The constant harbor humidity coming off near Logan Airport creates condensation inside walls. If that hidden moisture isn't found and dried immediately, you've got a rapidly spreading, explosive mold problem on your hands.
And guys, this is exactly why DIY methods almost always fail. People panic, they grab their trusty shop vacs, plug in a couple of box fans, and just kind of hope for the best, which is basically bringing a squirt gun to a house fire. Surface drying doesn't stop mold. Professional mitigation requires rigorous science to actually defeat hidden moisture. We're talking truck-mounted extractors pulling thousands of gallons, thermal imaging to see what's lurking behind walls, and specialized moisture meters to verify the job is actually done.
Okay, Part 4, the science of structural drying.
going beyond the surface. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive difference between just wiping up a spill and actually saving a building. Structural drying is this highly methodical scientific process of manipulating psychrometric principles. Professionals deploy industrial dehumidifiers to pull moisture directly from the air, while simultaneously arranging air movers to create highly specific circulation patterns. This engineered airflow essentially acts like a giant vacuum, drawing trapped water out from deep inside dense materials like hardwood, drywall, and brick.
To do this effectively, mitigation teams rely on a seriously heavy-duty technological arsenal. Thermal imaging cameras are swept across rooms to detect temperature differentials, highlighting the hidden moisture right inside the wall cavities. Truck-mounted extractors are deployed to remove thousands of gallons of standing water per hour. Industrial dehumidifiers handle the deep drying. But honestly, the most important tool, the moisture meter. Professionals measure current water content against baseline dry standards from unaffected areas. They don't just guess a room is dry, they scientifically prove it.
Which leads us to our final section, prevention and ultimate recovery, restoring order.
Look, property recovery feels completely overwhelming when you're in the middle of it, but certified professionals break it down into 4 highly digestible, logical steps. Step 1 is the 60-minute emergency assessment, finding the source and stopping the water intrusion immediately. Step 2 is rapid extraction, getting that standing water out to prevent secondary damage. Step 3 is the scientific structural drying and daily monitoring we just talked about. And finally, Step 4 is reconstruction, replacing the drywall, installing new floors, and bringing the property back to its pristine, pre-lost condition.
Now, what's really interesting about these timelines is how wildly they vary based on what got wet. Drywall and carpet, they might take around 3 days to hit baseline dry standards. But dense materials, like hardwood flooring and concrete, take much longer, usually around 7 days. And if you factor in environmental variables, like the coastal high humidity structures we see in our Chelsea case study, drying can take 7+ days easily. If you pull the equipment out early based on a generic timeline instead of hard data, you are absolutely guaranteeing a mold problem later.
Of course, the absolute best mitigation is preventing the disaster from happening in the first place. You can drastically reduce your risk by following a few very specific protocols. Replace your rubber washing machine hoses every 5 years. Don't wait for them to burst. Insulate pipes in unheated areas to prevent freeze-thaw cracking during the winter. Always test your sump pumps before the spring storm season hits. And above all else, know the exact location of your main water shutoff valve. Shutting off the supply immediately can literally mean the difference between a minor puddle and a total structural loss. Remember, prevention always costs far less than professional restoration.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. If a pipe burst inside your walls today, right now, would you know exactly what is hiding in that water and how fast the biological clock is ticking? Water damage isn't just about getting things wet, it is a rapidly evolving chemical and biological event. Understanding the science behind it is absolutely your best defense. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay prepared, and I will see you next time.